Hello and welcome to the next edition of the HP Discover podcast series. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Interarbor Solutions, your host and moderator for this ongoing sponsored discussion on IT innovation and how it's making an impact on people's lives. Our next innovation discussion interview highlights how Tableau and HP Vertica are coming together to provide visualization benefits for those seeking more than just big data analysis. They're looking for ways to use it effectively and productively. So in order to learn more, we're joined by our panel. We're here today with Paul Lilford, Global Director of Technology Partners for Tableau Software based in Seattle. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Dana. It's great to be here.
And we're also here with Steve Murfitt. He's the Director of Technical Alliances at HP Vertica. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Let's start with you, Paul. Why is the tag team between Tableau and Vertica so popular? Every time I speak with someone using Vertica, they inevitably mention that they're delivering their visualizations through Tableau. This seems to be a strong match.
Yeah, I think we're primarily a great match because Tableau's mission is to help people see and understand data, and we're made more powerful by getting to large data, and Vertica is one of the best at storing that. Their columnar format is a natural format for our end users because they don't think about writing SQL and doing that. So Tableau as a face to Vertica empowers business users to self-serve and deliver on a depth of analytics that I think can be unmatched in the market.
Now, you can add a visualization to a batch report just as well as a real-time streamed report. What is it about visualization that seems to be more popular in the higher density data and real-time analysis environment?
Yeah, I think the big thing there, Dana, is that, batch visualization will always be there, but it's, you know the question before it comes. And part of the reason in dense data where I think it's a bigger deal is data discovery is the new reality for companies. Becoming data-driven in your organization and making better informed decisions rather than taking a packaged report and trying to make a decision that maybe tells you how bad you were in the past or how good you might think you could be in the future, and actually having a conversation with your data iteratively and cycling back and forth. So the combination of our two technologies allows users to do that in a seamless drag-and-drop environment. And from a technical perspective, the more data you have, the deeper you can go. We're not really requiring a user, we're not limiting a user to any kind of threshold. So we're not saying, this is the way I wrote the report, therefore you can go consume it. We're saying, here's a whole bunch of data that may be a subject area or a grouping of subject areas, and you're the finance professional or the HR professional. Go consume it and ask the questions you need answered. And you're now not going to an IT professional to say, write me this report and come back 3 months from now and give it to me. You're actually having that conversation real time, in person, and that interactive nature of it is really the game changer.
And the ability for the big data analysis to be extended across as many consumer types in the organization as possible, both, behooves the organization, but it also makes the underlying platform more valuable. So this, from HP's perspective, must be a win-win. Steve?
It definitely is a win-win. When you have a fantastic database that performs really well, it's kind of uninteresting to show people just tables and columns. If you can have a product like Tableau and you can show how people can interact with that data and deliver on the promise of the tools to actually do discovery, then you're going to see the value of the platform.
Let's look to the future. We're here at the Big Data Conference. We've heard about some new and interesting trends for an increased volume of data with Internet of Things, mobile and apps being more iterative and smaller, therefore more data points. As the complexity kicks in and the scale ramps up, what do you expect, Paul, for visualization technology and the interactivity that you mentioned? What do you think are we approaching? What are some of the newer aspects of visualization that makes this powerful even as we seek to find more complexity?
I think there are a couple of things there. I think, like Hadoop, if you go back a year and a half or so, kind of moving from a cold storage technology more to a discovery layer, I think some of the trends in visualization are predictive content just being part of the everyday life. And Tableau democratized BI for the business user. We made it an everyday thing for the business user to do that. And I think like that, predictive is in a similar place to where BI was a couple of years ago. And now the going to the data scientist to do it, not that the data scientist's value isn't there, but becoming a bottleneck to doing things because you have to run it through a predictive model to give it to someone, I think is changing. So I think that predictive element is more and more part of the continuum here. And you're going to see more forward-looking, more forecast-based, more regression-based, more statistical things brought into it. I think we'll continue to innovate with some new visuals. But really the standard visuals, unstructured data, I think is the other big key. 80% of the world's data is unstructured. So how do you consume that content? Do you still structure it? Or can you consume it where it sits, as it sits, where it came in, how it is? And are there discoverers that can go do that? So I think, you're going to continue to see those go. I think the biggest green fields in big data really are predictive and unstructured. And, having the right stores like Vertica to scale that is important. But also allowing anyone to do it is the other important part, because if you give it to a few, technical professionals, you really restrict your ability to make decisions quickly.
Now, another interesting aspect when I speak to companies is the way that they are looking at their company more as an analytics and data provider, internally and perhaps externally. And we also heard from the United States Postal Service this week and how they view themselves in that fashion as an analytics entity, but also looking for business models of how to take data and analysis of data that they might be privy to and make that available as a new source of revenue. I would think that visualization is something that you'd want to provide to a consumer of that data, whether they're internal or external. So what are you all seeing for the advent of data as a business for companies that may not have even considered that, but could?
I think from our perspective, it's a given that it is a service, right? Data is the most important asset that most companies have. It's where the value is, and becoming data-driven isn't just a tagline that we talk about or people talk about. You want to make decisions and decisions that move your business. So being a data provider, the best example I can maybe give you, Dana, I came from healthcare, and when I started in healthcare, there was a rule, no social. You can't touch it. And now you look at healthcare, and nurses are tweeting with patients, don't eat that sandwich, right? Don't do this. So data is becoming a way to lower medical cost in healthcare, which is the biggest expense, right? How do you do that? And they use social and digital data to do that now, whereas 5-7 years ago, there was we can't do it. There's a privacy thing. And now it's a given part of government, of healthcare, of banking, of almost every vertical. How do I take this valuable asset I've got and turn it into some sort of product or market or market advantage, whatever that is?
Steve, anything more to offer on the advent or I suppose acceleration of the data as a business phenomena?
I think if you look at what companies have been doing for such a long time, they've been using the tools to look at historical data to measure how they're doing against budget. I think as people start to make more data available, what they really want to do is compare themselves to their peers. Because, if you're doing well against your budget, doesn't mean to say you're gaining or losing market share or how well you're doing. So I think as more data is shared and more data is available, being able to compare to peers, to averages, to measure yourself, not only internally but externally, is going to help with people making better decisions.
Mm-hmm. Now, for those organizations out there that have been doing reports in a bit more of a traditional way that recognize the value of their data and the subsequent analysis, but are yet to dabble deeply into visualization, what are some good rules of the road for beginning a journey towards visualization? What might you consider in terms of how you set up your warehouse or you set up your analysis engine, and therefore then make tools available to your constituencies? What are some good beginning concepts to consider?
Well, I think one of the most important is, start small, prove it, and scale it from there. So I think the days of boiling the ocean to try come up with an analytic to find out it didn't work are over. I think organizations want to prove it. And one of the cool things about doing that visually is now the person who knows the data the best can show you what they're trying to do. And rather than trying to pull a requirement out of someone to say, what is it you want, and inevitably something's lost in translation when that happens, or the requirement changes by the time it's delivered, you now have a real-time, interactive, iterative conversation with both the data and the business user. So if you're a technical professional, you can now focus on the infrastructure that supports the user, the governance and security around it, and you're not focused on the report object anymore. And that report object is expensive. It doesn't mean for compliance things the financial reports go away. It means you've right-sized that work effort. And now the people that know the data the best deliver the data. And the people that support the infrastructure the best support that infrastructure and that delivery. And I think that's one of the biggest things that's a shift. Technologies today do scale. Vertica is a great scalable database. Tableau is a great self-service tool. And the combination of the two actually allows you to do this now. Whereas if you go back even 7 years, I think it was a difficult thing. I built my career being a data warehouse BI guy, so I was the guy writing reports and building databases for people, and it doesn't scale. At some point, you're a bottleneck for the people that need to do their job. And so I think that's the biggest single thing in it.
All right. Another big trend these days is people becoming a bit more used to doing things through a mobile device. Maybe it's a phablet or a tablet or a smartphone. It's hard to look at a spreadsheet on those things, more than one or two cells at a time. So visualizations and exercising your analytics through a mobile tier seem to go hand in hand. What should we expect there, and isn't there a very natural affinity between mobile and analysis visualization?
Yeah, so, I mean, we have mobile apps today, but I think you're going to see a fast evolution in this. Most visuals work better on a tablet. So, right-sizing that for the phone is going to continue to happen. Scaling that with the right architecture behind it, because devices are limited in what they can hold themselves. So I think you'll see a portability element come to it. But at the same time, I think this is early days. Machines are generating data. We're consuming it at a rate it's almost impossible to consume. And so now those devices themselves are going to be really the game changer. My kids use iPads. They know how to do it. So there's a whole new workforce in the making that knows this and thinks like this, and devices are just going to get better at supporting it. But, I think we're in the very early phases of it. I think we have a strong offering today. I think it's only going to get stronger in the future.
Steve, any thoughts about the intersection between Vertica, big data, and mobile, and the visualization aspect of that?
I think that the important thing is having the platform that can provide the performance. When you're on a mobile device, you still want the instant access, and you want it to be real-time access. This is the way the market is going, and so basically, if you go with the older, more traditional platforms that can't perform when you're in the office, they're not going to perform when you're remote. And so it's all about building the infrastructure, having the right technology to be able to deliver that performance and that response and interactivity to the device wherever they are.
And before we close off, I just wanted to delve a little bit more into the details of how HP Vertica and Tableau Software work. Is this an OEM, a partnership? Is this co-selling, co-marketing? How do you define it? And for those folks out there that either use one or the other, or neither of you, how should they progress to making the best of Vertica and Tableau together?
So we're a technology partnership. It's a co-selling relationship, and we do that by design. We're a best-in-breed technology. We do what we do, I think, better than anyone else. And Vertica's one of the best databases, and they do what they do better than anyone else. And so the combination of the two, providing customers options that solve problems. And in my view, the whole reason we partner is to solve customer issues. And so we want to do it in best in breed, and I think that's a lot what the new stack technologies are about. It's no longer a single vendor building, a huge solution stack. It's the best database with the best Hadoop storage, with the best visualization, with the best BI tools on top of it. And that's where you're getting a better cost of ownership overall, because now you're not invested in one player that can deliver this. You're invested in the best at what they do, and you're delivering in real time for people.
Last question, Steve. Degree of integration here, is this something that end-user organizations can do themselves? Are there professional services organizations? What degree of integration between Vertica and Tableau visualization is customary?
The way that Tableau works, it connects very easily to Vertica. There's a drop-down on their database connector saying connect to Vertica. As long as they have the driver installed, it works. And the way their interface works, they can start querying and getting value from the data straight away.
Very good. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. We've been learning about how Tableau Software and HP Vertica come together to provide a strong visualization capability on top of a highly scaling, agile, and near real-time analytics engine. I'd like to thank our guests who've been joined by Paul Lilford, the Global Director of Technology Partners at Tableau Software in Seattle. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
And we've been here with Steve Murfitt, Director of Technical Alliances at HP Vertica. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And a big thank you also to our audience for joining us for this special new style of IT discussion. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Interarbor Solutions, your host for this ongoing series of HP-sponsored discussions. Thanks again for listening, and do come back next time.